Following the extreme highs of Batman the Animated Series throughout the 90s, developing a Batman show after Batman the Animated Series must have been an insurmountable task.
But the team behind the Batman 2004 animated show somehow delivered.
They put their own unique flair on the Batman character, and they did their own thing, and they weren't afraid to be different.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Thomas.
I'm Merlin.
Together we're the Comic Lads. And today, we're talking about the most underrated Batman cartoon, the Batman 2004.
And funny enough, this show is hitting its 20-year anniversary this year.
Why did you say that?
It's like celebrating, but also like, we might as well buy our coffee.
I hear a lot of church bells, bro.
Yeah. So what better time than to jump back and revisit this great show? When we were talking about making this video, we were discussing, should we review the entire series? And there's just so much there, and each season is so vastly different.
We felt like a video like that, summarizing the whole thing, wouldn't have really done the show justice, because this is like the longest running Batman show too. There's 5 seasons to talk about.
Yeah, and as great as Batman the Animated Series is, more or less every season feels kind of similar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the arcs and like the stories and the character showcases. All that to say, guys, this video we're going to be looking at specifically season 1 as a retrospective, and if you guys enjoy this style of content, please, we'll do the other season.
Yes. But before we get into it, guys, question of the week. Have you watched The Batman? Are you a fan of it? Where does it rank among your all-time Batman animated series? Let us know in the comments down below.
Don't forget to smash the like button.
Smash it.
Help us conquer the YouTube algorithm. If we're Batman, the YouTube algorithm is Joker.
No, if we're Batman, the YouTube algorithm is Gotham.
Yeah,
you know?
True.
The YouTube algorithm is crime.
Oh, man.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Become a lad.
Now, where am I exactly?
Among friends.
Before we get into the actual arcs and the stories that these characters go through, we have to talk about the animation style.
It was revolutionary for a superhero cartoon.
It holds up even to this day. Animation-wise, I think it's better than Caped Crusader.
Yes, it is. I don't care.
So weird.
I don't care. It is better than Caped Crusader in its animation. But I feel like a lot of people hated on this show. They're like, oh, it's ugly. It looks like a manga Batman. I'm like, that's sick.
Well, it's kind of like the Spectacular Spider-Man treatment. You know, at face value, some people might see some character designs or like body proportions and be turned off by it. But it's one of those shows that the more you watch it and the more you saturate in its awesomeness,
it's so easy to be sold by it if you're not already at the jump.
I think one thing in particular we have to note though about the animation,
fight choreography, it's next level.
It's next level. And like, as much as the animated series was amazing, you know, just an all-rounder amazing freaking product,
the action is the one place where it kind of falls flat.
Yeah, there's a bit to be desired with the action, you know, it's just like a lot of big swinging punches, and this, it felt like Batman was like actually trained by like the League of Assassins and like multiple martial art tutors through the years.
Yeah, this is how I want to see Batman fight in movies.
Yeah, because I don't like Batman when he's like too much of a brute, you know what I mean? I feel like Batman should be kind of more nimble.
The way the Batman fights in the show, you feel like he might be a wraith or something, you know, like he doesn't move the way everyone else does.
Yeah, and it's almost like he dodges as much as he hits people. You know what I mean? And it makes for such like engaging animations where he's just like bouncing all around the screen. Another thing that I feel like this show has an edge on the animated series, his tech.
Yes.
Like the batarangs, bro. The way he like jumps back and fucking throws a batarang like he's Naruto throwing a ninja star.
And the sound design, bro, they're like, boop, 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 boop.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So sick, man.
So cool.
And it's not just his batarangs, you know, he has like an actual grapnel gun. You know what I mean? It comes out from his wrist. It looks so freaking cool.
Are you gonna do what I think you're about to do?
Yes.
Are you gonna hate on this Batmobile?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Okay. Me and Thomas, big surprise, we don't share the exact same brain. It's very similar.
This might be our first disagreement in Comic Lads history.
Listen, I personally don't like the Batmobile in the Batman.
Flame them, guys.
Mostly because it feels like it was designed to sell toys. It feels like a Hot Wheels car. I know it's been said before. I'm not taking credit for that statement, but it feels like
You know what it is? It's the fact that it has those 4 giant rectangular afterburners in the back. You know what it looks like? It looks like it's electric.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's what it is. I did grow up having, like, the toy that made the sounds and that fit Batman into it. Like, it's
You're toy biased.
It's good. 100%. It's goated for me. They overdo this in the show, but every time they reuse that animation where he hops in and he fucking
God.
puts the gloves on it, puts the belt, puts the mask, and then puts the seatbelt.
Puts the car into gear.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's hype with the music in the background.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
And it's always like the same clip reused, but every time it's like the bat signal is rising in my pants. You know? I don't know. You know what I mean?
I totally do.
I want to know your guys' opinion on this because my Batman, I like a spiked cape at the bottom.
Absolutely.
He needs to have a spike cape. Like Robert Pattinson's fit is great, but I don't like that it's like a perfect blanket at the bottom.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It needs to look like bat wings.
Yeah, exactly. And the way like this Batman, you know, walks down a dark hallway and you see that kind of spread of his cape at the bottom.
Yeah.
Going back to our point about his tech, he seems like a pretty capable Batman. You know what I mean? He has all the gadgets that you'd expect to see in a modern take.
But I really like also that he's kind of young. I don't want to say inexperienced because he's very capable from the jump. Like, he is really dope and like you can tell he already knows how to be Batman. But once you start the show, he doesn't know how to take on these new supervillains. They're scary to him.
Yeah.
You know?
It's very refreshing to see like a young, kind of still getting his hands on the steering wheel kind of Batman. As capable as we said he was in like, you know, different fighting scenes and all his gadgets and stuff, I feel like he doesn't have the hardened temperament that Batman in his later years has.
When he's taking down regular mobsters and stuff, he knows what he's doing. They literally can't do anything against him because he's that cracked. You can tell that he wasn't expecting to be challenged so much by these new supervillains.
Throughout season 1, I feel like there's this kind of recurring feeling that Bruce is sitting with where he's not sure if Batman is the right thing for Gotham.
Yeah,
or if he's being effective.
Yeah, like if it works at all.
Because with his appearance, suddenly all these crazies start coming out too.
Yeah, it's kind of like a chicken or the egg situation. It's like, do I create these villains?
I'm glad freaks like this penguin bring out the Batman.
Hopefully it's not the Batman who brings out the freaks.
Like that Vision argument.
I was legit just about to say
Fucking
that.
some war where he's like, our very existence invites challenge, you know?
And one thing that you mentioned off camera that I think is a really good point too is that the show is called Batman. A lot of the time when you see the character, it's in his Bruce Wayne persona.
And it's so nice and refreshing to see he's not this cold, calculating asshole. He's like a person with vulnerabilities and relationships and friends. Like his camaraderie with Alfred is so beautiful in the show. They really feel like father and son, even more so than sometimes in Batman the Animated Series.
I think Alfred, I prefer him in this show actually.
He's amazing.
He's got to be the second best character, honestly. Like,
yes.
He really just wants the best for Bruce.
He does.
There's a flashback.
Yes, I know exactly. I'm thinking of the exact same thing. It's when Bruce is at the police station after Thomas and Martha have been killed. And he puts his hand on his shoulder and he says, Master Bruce, I can never replace them.
But I promise I'll always be by your side. And it's like, this is what Alfred should be, you know? And you see the little boy Bruce with the tears in his eyes and goes back to the present, and Alfred is kind of thinking like that was the first step basically that led us up until now on his journey to becoming the Bat. God, he's just so sick. Like, there's some episodes where he's like handling business, bro. Like,
and he's also like hilarious. It's just fantastic.
Say that again?
Speaking of side characters, I don't think we can do this video without talking about his childhood best friend, Bennett.
What a fucking great character.
He kind of acts as this supporting theme backing up Batman questioning his place in Gotham.
Whenever Batman questions his effectiveness as Batman in Gotham, the voice of reason is always like Alfred, but Ethan is always there, always in his corner, whether he knows it or not, because he doesn't know Bruce is Batman. He's always defending him. He's like telling his fellow cops, why don't we just like accept the Batman's help. We can't do this alone. We can't take on these villains.
Yeah, and he doesn't know Bruce's identity, which I find creates like a really nice dynamic between them. Because
it's like he has a respect for both Bruce and Batman.
yeah, and that kind of leads Bruce to like, you know, he's very closed off throughout season 1. You know, Robin hasn't come into his life yet. And there's a lot of different points where he's questioning kind of bringing Bennett into the fold, you know what I mean? And revealing his identity and working together with him on different cases. It's nice to have a Batman that like
Has friends.
yeah, you see them shooting hoops, grabbing coffee together. It feels nice because a lot of the times throughout Batman's comic history, whenever he goes out as Bruce, it's kind of just to like keep up appearances.
Yes.
But you can tell in the times in the show when he sees Bennett, it's because he wants to check in with him and see how he's doing.
Yeah.
As a friend would.
Bruce is Bruce. He's not only Batman and Bruce is the mask. Like, no, he's a human being that has the same needs that we all do.
There's also another ingredient added to the mix which kind of creates some tension for Bennett as a character, and this is in the form of Yin.
His partner, Ellen Yin, they created both these cop characters to be in the Batman show because Jim Gordon was off limits.
Yeah, because of Batman Begins, and they didn't want like cross-brand synergy or whatever.
So stupid. I'm like, why would you even make a Batman show then?
I think at that point, like, the seeds of superheroism and, you know, pop culture and, like, modern media were still, like, blooming. They thought that would, like, be some kind of cross-brand tarnishing or something. But yeah, and I have to say, like, when I rewatching the Batman season 1, you kind of at first feel, like, that empty spot left behind from, like, the lack of Jim Gordon.
Yeah.
But I feel like these two characters, Ethan and Ian, fill it so well. And
So well.
it's to the point where we're not going to get into it too much more, but in the following seasons when they get rid of them and they bring Jim Gordon into the fold, I'm kind of like, where are my homies?
Yeah, like, why is Jim just randomly... I don't give a fuck about this Jim.
Yeah.
Like, where are the characters that you guys have built, you know?
Yeah.
It's really a shame.
And so Yin comes into the picture, and she, of course, is Ethan's partner at GCPD. And her and Bennett are kind of at odds, but also having to work together because while Bennett feels that Batman is a positive force in Gotham,
Yin is like, he's a vigilante, and we have to catch him.
yeah, so a lot of the different stories, it's kind of like a cat and mouse chase between the two detectives and Batman.
Yeah.
You know, just narrowly avoiding each other at crime scenes, or there'll be points where Batman's like beaten to a pulp by a villain and they're like just about to unmask him, but he makes like a sudden escape or something, you know? And it creates this other dimension to the story where it's not just the villains trying to take down Batman.
Definitely. It adds, like, another layer of stakes to the equation as well.
And so, of course, you know, it wouldn't be a Batman show without the villains. So while Bennett and Yin are trying to take him down, there are so many great episodes where a villain is at the focus of Batman's attention.
I feel like we're a big fan of most of the villain portrayals, but I want to talk about one that I feel like they've missed the mark on.
Mr. Freeze?
That's Mr. Freeze. Listen, we know his design is like top 2 Mr. Freeze designs.
It's great.
It's goated.
Yeah.
The fact that he shoots the ice from his hands.
He has actual ice powers. It looks so awesome.
It looks sick, but his character blows.
They kind of reduce him just to like a generic bank robber.
Yeah, I totally agree. He really does just feel like Arnie, where he's like,
The Iceman cometh.
yeah, and he's just like, oh, Batman, have an ice day.
Yeah.
Like, shut up.
Like, the writing is pretty good. It's pretty consistent throughout every episode in season 1, but that episode is like,
It's so quippy, bro.
it's painful.
It's really painful. And, like, I get they were trying to distance themselves from Batman the Animated Series by leaving Nora out of the story, but, like, what do you have with the Mr. Freeze character?
But I will say, in the flashback shots where you see him as a bank robber, you know, leading up to the events of him turning into Mr. Freeze,
Yeah.
there's this one shot where he's making a getaway, and on his dashboard, there's some pictures of him and a girl kissing.
Okay.
And so when I saw that, I'm like, does Nora exist? But she's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, but then I'm like, if you're gonna tease me like that, why is his whole motivation like, oh, I need diamonds, you know? Like, get the fuck out of
Yeah.
here.
He kind of feels very much like Sandman in Spectacular, where he's like, I just need a big score.
Yeah, I was just looking for the biggest score.
Exactly.
All right, dude, I guess.
But, you know, all of that is forgiven because we get top 5 best bat suits ever in that episode.
Oh my god, dude, the Arctic fucking bat suit.
Yeah. There's also a really good moment in that episode with Mr. Freeze that I want to talk about too. This is at the point in the story where Bruce's decision is flip-flopping between being Batman and being Bruce Wayne, you know, how he can help Gotham. Mr. Freeze beats his ass, you know what I mean? He gets like frozen solid and he's like shivering on the couch and he's like, I failed, you know, to Alfred. He's doing the whole like hero's journey thing. everything.
Yeah, he's doing the whole, like, guy when they get sick, like, oh, I need my mommy.
No, literally. And he's like, oh, I'm having, like, no effect. Like, people like Freeze are still running rampant. What am I doing here?
Yeah.
And he has this dream where he's recounting, like, the events of, you know, Crime Alley and Thomas and Martha getting shot. And when the person shoots them, they come out of the shadows, and it's Mr. Freeze. And he, like, wakes up. He's like, no, like, I'm Batman. That's where he gets into the Arctic suit, and you're like, hell yes.
That's so sick.
And I just love that as, like, it kind of, like, reaffirms that all of that goes back to that one night where Joe Chill is kind of, like, evil incarnate.
Yes.
Mr. Freeze is now that evil in the present, and by not stopping him, that could lead to another tragedy like what's happened to Bruce Wayne.
Absolutely.
It was just a little thing that I really liked in the moment.
It's really good. It's a very, like, Spider-Man-esque moment, you know, like, with, like, the whole Uncle Ben thing where, like, inaction can lead to tragedy.
What are some other villains that you enjoyed in the season?
I really enjoyed Man-Bat in this one.
Yeah.
Because I really like Man-Bat in the animated series and also in the Arkham games where he's sympathetic, but this one feels kind of, like, malevolent and
Unhinged.
really freaky, and I love it.
Also kind of gross looking. Like, this show was, for all intents and purposes, made for kids.
Yeah.
But the way he would, like, transform into Man-Bat and you'd see his, like, veins getting stretched out over his wings.
Yeah, it's nightmarish.
It's, like, horrifying.
It's
like,
really
even
fun.
now as of, like, I don't want to say adult, because that, like, hurts me. But, you know what I mean? Like, as an adult, like, it still kind of freaks me out to see.
I totally agree.
Kirk Langstrom's sole motivation is just wanting to be a better Batman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so he, like, goes toe-to-toe with Batman. He's like, tell me, who's a better Bat? The Batman or the Bad Bat? Also, I will say, great depiction, but if you've played Arkham City or any of the Arkham games, I can't hear his voice and not hear Mad Hatter.
Yeah, I planted a teeny tiny little idea in your head. A sort of remote hypnotic suggestion. Very complicated stuff. No, Mr. Wayne. I want to be feared. You forced me to accelerate my testing schedule. That's a pity the Batman himself can't be here to witness the birth of Man-Bat.
It is the exact same voice.
Oh shit, it's the same one, eh?
Like, the exact same voice. It's really...
Yeah,
But you
that-
gotta give this one credit, because it did it first. before Mad
Absolutely.
Hatter.
Well, that actor just always sounds the same. Isn't he also Doc Ock in Spectacular Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another episode, too, that I think we gotta mention. It is the Catwoman episode.
Yes.
Some of the lads have said they don't like the Catwoman design in the show.
Yo,
For me, it's the best one ever.
respectfully, you guys are bugging.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And that episode in particular does something that I've never really seen in a Batman story before. We're gonna have someone comment now saying, like, well, actually, in Batman issue 476, this happened. But what happens in this story is Catwoman steals Batman's utility belt.
Yeah.
And she uses it to, like, enact all these different crimes. And I just thought that was, like, a really fun way of, like...
making a new Catwoman caper that's not just like, oh, she's stealing, like, the Jade Tiger from the fucking museum, you know?
Exactly. So she's, like, using his belt. It felt like a very unique idea. that I
Or
haven't seen.
she's using the Arkham remote control battery.
Actually. And that episode, you know, ends with both of them kind of crossing paths with a gangster and ending up, you know, teaming up together, which is something that kind of expected of a Batman Catwoman story.
But you want it to go there, you know? I think you want them to gravitate towards each other.
What do you think of Scarface?
It doesn't hit as hard as his Batman the Animated Series portrayal.
Absolutely not.
It doesn't. His design's really fun. It's a lot goofier, though, in the show. I think it's a really fun idea to have, like, a giant kind of mech Scarface. I thought that was cool.
One thing that intrigues me about Scarface in, like, any portrayal, you know, whether it's this or the comics or the animated series,
I know what you're gonna say.
is how split the personalities are.
Yeah.
To the point where, like, Scarface the doll will, like, smack the shit out of Wesker, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because he, like, and he's the one calling Wesker dummy.
It's so good, and it's like in Arnold Wesker's mind, Scarface is its own separate entity. It is technically in his mind, but he is so mentally broken, to him it's another person. So like when he loses Scarface, he has to go physically find him. He's shitty at crimes because he's just the ventriloquist and he doesn't have Scarface there to guide him. Even though it's in his mind, it's so separate of a personality that like he's ineffectual without this fucking wooden dummy.
Yeah, and building off of that, there's a great moment in that episode in the Batman where I think Scarface, like the doll, is put put through like a trash compactor or something. And Wesker like pulls him out, you know, the other side. He's like, Mr. Scarface, sir. The Scarface voice is like breathing with like laborly breathing. He's like, I'm not dead yet, dummy. You know what I mean? It's just like,
once you kind of get past the reveal, it has to be a kind of comedic character.
Yeah.
And that's where it works best.
okay, here's the weird thing though. I feel like Joker doesn't have like memorable episodes. Is that just me?
He does feel a lot more whimsical and kind of goofy. But there's something threatening about it, though. It might just be the way they designed him or the way he moves.
Yeah, Joker in the show almost feels like an animal or something.
Yes.
Like a rabid animal. You know, he's got those like bright red eyes, the crazy slick back hair.
Yeah.
He has this like animalistic energy to him. You know, he's got like the bare feet.
Yeah.
He's jumping around. He's doing somersaults.
Yeah, and it's almost primate-like, kind of like Beast in X-Men First Class. I don't know, it's really cool.
Yeah. One more villain I think we should talk about before we get to how the show concludes and the final villain, Bane.
Fucking love this Bane.
Dude, this Bane, the thing is that he has kind of two designs. He has one when he's in his like normal suit without the venom, and then one where he's like jacked up on venom. Both suits are freaking awesome.
They go hard as fuck. The first suit where like there's no real design on the face, it's just like two lines, and then when he juices up, those kind of different plates stretch out because like his body's getting so much bigger.
In this show, with the fight scenes that we previously stated, it feels so like visceral and like brutal.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen Batman get his cheeks clapped so brutally.
Batman gets put through like 12 different brick walls this episode.
He gets beaten. He's beaten.
He gets rinsed. He
Yeah.
literally gets broken.
Hey, he comes back in a freaking mechanized bat suit.
Which goes so hard.
It goes so hard, but I will say, something that I noticed about this show, rewatching it, every episode seems to have something that could be turned into a toy. know what I mean?
100%. Well, but like, you know what though? That's probably why the show didn't get canceled like Young Justice or Spectacular.
But like, I especially noticed in the Firefly episode when Batman has like 3 different flight suits in one episode.
Fun dagger, bro. Like, I'm not buying these.
I know. But yeah, he comes back in a giant mechanized bat suit, and he still gets rinsed.
He's about to get fucking fatality.
Actually. And he grabs like a piece of wire, you know, ripped out from his suit, and he sticks it in Bane, and that like electrocutes him.
It's like the same classic way of like, how does Batman beat Bane in any story? He like cuts his fucking stupid tube.
But I will say Bane in that episode is...
he goes so hard.
Yeah. I will say though, like, Batman getting beat up by Penguin, Bane I would get, but Batman getting fucked, like, bro, there's this one episode, the second episode that Penguin appears in.
Yeah.
Where they're like fighting at Wayne Manor, and like I don't know if Penguin punches him or kicks him, but he sends him flying across the room.
Like, it's so bad, and it's like, oh god, and it really dates the show where Penguin's like, oh yeah, I learned these
In the
moves
Orient.
in the Orient. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, and he has like those 2 twins.
The Kabuki twins
Kabuki twins, right?
are so sick. I don't know, I have such fond memories of fucking fighting them on that mini clip, the Batman computer game.
We all have the same childhood, I think.
Yeah, well, if you're old fucks like us. But everything we talked about, guys, leads us to the finale 2-parter of the season, the rubber face of comedy and the clay face of tragedy. Basically, the episode starts with like, Joker's created this new thing. He makes this thing called Joker Putty. He shoots things with this gun and they become like rubberized. He kidnaps Ethan Bennett and basically subjects him to a more kid-friendly Killing Joke Jim Gordon torture sequence where he's trying to prove that one bad day can make anyone just as insane as he is.
He full-on gets tortured for 6 to 12 hours of being in Joker's hands.
Kudos to Ethan Bennett's voice actor because it's brutal.
And also something that kind of adds to his mental breakage is at the start of the episode, the chief of police is like, yo, Bennett, Yin, like, why the fuck haven't you caught Batman yet? Like, you guys are lacking right now.
Yeah, and he's like, catch Batman by tomorrow or it's your badge. And I'm like...
and he also puts this thing into play where he's like, it doesn't matter who they are. If you see any freaks, you freaking arrest them. And this, of course, like we mentioned earlier, creates a lot of turmoil in Bennett because...
he fucks with Batman.
yeah, and he sees how much much good he's doing. And at the same time in the story, Bruce is once again considering bringing Bennett into the fold because he's like, he's the only cop that has my back. Like, we could do some serious work together. Basically, Ethan almost became Robin. Like, in another universe, Ethan became the boy wonder.
In another universe, Robin is just as tall as Batman. Like,
Exactly. When he ends up in Joker's hands, he partly blames the chief of police because he's like, look, if we had it my way, Batman would have been here. He could have freaking saved me. Instead, I had to be freaking tortured by Joker for a whole day.
Yeah, because I was chasing Batman for like no fucking reason. When Batman eventually saves Ethan, Joker's gun drops to the ground and shatters, and the fumes from the gun infect Ethan. And then the episode comes to a close, and Ethan's back at his apartment, and he's coughing. He has this like really bad hacking cough, and he's kind of sick, and he looks in the mirror and he starts melting. And then the next episode is called The Clayface of Tragedy. Ethan becomes Clayface.
This episode gave me the same feeling as like the flashbacks in Return of the Joker, where you saw like Tim getting freaking tortured and turn into like Joker Jr.
I totally
That
agree.
same kind of feeling where you're seeing this person who's been done so dirty. Him as Clayface, dude, when he's going down his apartment building and he's begging for help.
Help me!
He's just begging for help, and everyone's screaming, and like police officers that are his friends are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, take him down! What is that thing?" And it's just like, oh
So
my god.
fucked. And you guys can't tell that this thing is like clearly in pain and looking for help. His whole worldview is shattered. You know, like he doesn't believe in being a cop anymore. And you know, obviously, eventually Clayface has to get taken down. Batman loses his best friend, but he also gains one in Ellen Yin. At the end of the story, Ellen Yin basically comes to the conclusion that no, we need help, and Batman might be a force for good in this city. Batman gives her like a phone basically to call him.
And that's a great ending to that show, where you see not just Batman getting closer with Yin, but also Bruce Wayne getting closer with Yin.
Yeah.
They go for coffee and they're reminiscing about Bennett and, you know, thinking like, where is he? Like, we're gonna find him, we have to help him. And then you see across the street,
He's standing there and he gives them this kind of reassuring look.
but then they go out and he's transformed to someone else, and it leaves this really eerie feeling to the end of the season.
Where it's like, and they say like, he could be anywhere. He could be anyone. That's really scary.
Yeah. His partnership with Yin kind of falls into the themes of the next few seasons, where, you know, this is the first official person that he's opening up to, you know, sharing his mission, his crusade to save Gotham with.
And trusting.
Yeah, and I think all of this leads to the brilliant stuff that we see with Robin and Batgirl and even the Justice League members in the following seasons. Guys, please like this video.
Yeah,
we need to do those seasons
I
too.
really want to talk about the rest of this show.
The show's great.
The show's great. It stands on its own. This show deserves its recognition as, you know, one of the great superhero cartoons of the 21st century.
Are you guys fans of this show? We need to hear your thoughts. We love to read every single one of your comments.
We love you.
We love you dearly.
Peace.
Peace. Peace.